Our News from the Hill segment tonight, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson might be on his way out of the Trump administration. According to sources, the White House is planning to replace Tillerson with CIA Director Mike Pompeo after the relationship between Tillerson and President Trump has soured. Tillerson and Trump have been at odds over the Iran nuclear deal and the way Tillerson handled confrontation with North Korea, so it makes sense Trump would look to make a change. But if Tillerson is out at the State Department, what will the Trump administration's foreign policy look like? With me now from the Center for Security Policy, Fred Fleitz. Fred, good to see you.
Hey, Liz, good to be here.
All right, Fred, what do you make of these reports? You and I talked a couple months ago, actually, earlier in the summer, about the fact that we thought President Trump should get rid of Tillerson, but this seems to be like the real deal.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the president was planning to do this at the end of the year. Look, Rex Tillerson's a good guy. He came to the State Department with the best of intentions. He found an organization that's very inefficient. But you know, Liz, presidencies are very short, and he spent an entire year obsessed with process and reorganization. And that means most of the State Department top positions are unfilled. This reorganization plan still hasn't been implemented. Frankly, he wasted an entire year of the Trump presidency trying to meddle with the bureaucracy.
Right, and it seems, I mean, for all his success at ExxonMobil, it seems to me that the council that he hired to put this implementation plan into order, that guy quit after 3 months. So it seems to be a little messy in the State Department. And I think it comes down to agenda, too. Whatever his intentions were, and I'm not going to disagree with you that his intentions were anything but pure, but I think even in his confirmation hearings, we could see for ourselves that there was a disparity between what he believed about the world order and what Trump believed. But three pretty significant things that the State Department should have been focusing on: the Paris Climate Accords, the Iran deal, and then North Korea's misbehavior. Tillerson's been mostly silent, and that's not, in my opinion, what you would want from a Secretary of State when what's happening in the world is happening.
I think that's right. You know, in reorganization, when you make reorganization in business, they last forever. But in government, they change with the next administration. So you got to sort of spend only so much time on something that's not going to last. Mr. Tillerson opposed the president on the climate deal. He opposed the president on the Iran deal. On North Korea, I think his statements have been fairly good, but there's been some disagreement over negotiations. And, you know, the president's top diplomat has to be representing the president's positions. And frequently that doesn't seem to be the case with Tillerson.
No, and I mean, when the president has to take to Twitter to talk about how he thinks his Secretary of State should be negotiating with a rogue nation, then you know that there's some communication breach there. So rumor has it, again, reports are saying that Tillerson would be replaced by current CIA chief Mike Pompeo. What would a State Department under Pompeo look like?
He'd be great. I know Pompeo well. He's been a great CIA director, and I hate to see him go because I spent most of my career at the CIA. But he understands foreign policy well. He understands the government. I think he would immediately move to fill all these vacant positions at state. He's not going to get bogged down in bureaucracy and process. And I think the State Department would like him. I think he's better at working in a government bureaucracy. I think it would be a good move.
Right. My personal favorite for this position would have been Nikki Haley, but I understand, I guess, the conundrum between promoting someone who's so good at the current job that they have into another job, because she is doing such an incredible job as ambassador to the UN right now. Okay, so if Pompeo took over for Tillerson after he was kicked out of Secretary of State, again, reports are saying that Senator Tom Cotton would be tapped to take over the CIA. This has actually been the part of this story that's been met with the most criticism, because people on the left are saying Tom Cotton is ideological. You have to be nonpartisan in order to run the CIA, and he would be a poor choice. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I hear these people saying CIA has to be nonpartisan. It's hard to hear. It's hard for me to listen to that with a straight face. CIA is a bureaucracy in Washington. There's lots of politics. Cotton is a veteran who has an in-depth understanding of intelligence and national security. He'd be a great choice for CIA. My problem is I don't want him to leave the Senate. We need him in the Senate, and if he leaves, that's another Republican vacancy that will be up for grabs in 2018. So that's a problem.
Right. It's almost two-pronged. It's both the election, because the governor of Arkansas would appoint a senator, but then there'd be that re-election in 2018. Yes. So it would be a different dynamic there. But Tom Cotton has also been one of the president's strongest allies on national security and foreign policy. He's been one of the biggest defenders in the Senate. And that would be, I think, a loss even more than the risk of losing that Senate seat, since it's mostly a conservative state.
I think that's right. And when you're at the CIA, you're in the shadows. He can't speak out for the president the way he does right now. but he would be an advocate for the president's tough national security policy. So there would be advantages to having him there and Pompeo at state. But I mean, I wish there was a different way to do it, because I think Cotton is so good in the Senate.
Right, cloning's not appropriate in government yet at this time. So just going back to the State Department for a second, what do you think, if this happened in January, like it is reportedly going to happen in January, what would be one of the first moves by Pompeo? What do you think the largest structural change that would be made at State Department that we'd see?
Well, I think he's going to put this reorganization plan on hold. And he's going to try to find a way to work on the terrible morale situation, because people don't know if they have a job, because this reorganization plan, it seems to be never ending. But I think the bigger issue is he's going to move aggressively to fill all the top vacancies as soon as possible. And I think there's a few people who were put in place by Tillerson that Pompeo is going to give the boot.
Right, and I think that's one of the things that's been the oddest part of Tillerson's 1 year in office, is that he hasn't filled those positions. He hasn't gotten rid of these. I guess it's not even career diplomats so much as Obama appointees who adhere to what Obama thinks in that kind of foreign policy. And it's odd that under a Trump administration, Trump's Secretary of State wouldn't have almost immediately gotten rid of them. That has been a head scratcher to me. Fred, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. All right, guys, we have to take a quick break, but right after that, our next tipping point is with John Gabriel. The Black Lives Matter movement is dreaming of a Black Christmas. The radical leftist group is calling for a complete boycott of all stores owned by white people to destroy what they're calling white capitalism. It's absolutely nuts, and their secret goal is accidentally revealed in what they say, which is great. We're going to show you next. Stick with us.